there other countries that have taken similar measures during the pandemic and provided relief to the population through rent cancellation?
Well, the thing about rent cancellation, it's a particularly important and poignant demand in the United States, say, compared to the capitalist countries and capitalist governments of Europe, which, unlike the United States, were compelled. In fact, they did it almost automatically because they knew they would be compelled if they did not, to be able to cover workers' salaries. In Denmark, people retain their salaries, 80, 90, even 100% of their salaries. Same in France, same in other countries in Europe, even in the UK under the leadership of the conservative Boris Johnson. 80% of salaries were covered. It's not even considered a right-left issue in Europe. The workers' movement has historically been so strong, and the capitalists in Europe so afraid of socialism and communism, especially after the Russian Revolution, and especially after World War II, where all of Europe, like Asia, could have been engulfed in revolution. Very far-reaching social insurance and social democratic programs were applied to society. So people are not in the same position in the capitalist governments in Europe because their salaries have been covered. It doesn't mean things aren't bad, but it's not the same as the United States. 40 million people, really 50 million when you include the undocumented, have lost their jobs. 12.7 million workers have lost healthcare coverage. That means about 30 million when you include their families. 40% cannot pay rent or mortgage as a consequence. This is a particular American problem. There could be another way to go. There could have been and could still be another way to go. There's a bill in Congress, H.R. 6918. It was introduced by Pramila Jayapal from the state of Washington. It now has, as of yesterday, over 90 sponsors from the House. And it's called the Paycheck Recovery Act, which would guarantee 100% of workers' salaries for 6 months. And the bill, as she did the calculation, the numbers, the bill would be about $650 billion. Well, that's less than 1 year of the U.S. military budget. It's certainly a fraction of what the U.S. government is doing in terms of giving loan guarantees to banks, corporations, and hedge funds, and the other stimulus packages for the corporate and capitalist elite. It's an achievable demand. The fact that conservative Democrats are now backing it, and by the way, several right-wing Republican senators, like Senator Hawley from Missouri, who is very conservative, very right-wing, also supporting this, and others in the U.S. Senate also introducing similar packages. It's an indication that the conditions of the working class and the masses are so dire that the government could be compelled to do something like this. I mean, we support and should support H.R. 6918. If all working class people, everybody had their salaries covered, then the issue of rent or the issue of mortgage payment would become a subsidiary issue. The reason it's a primary issue and an urgent issue is because people don't have money. And they don't have money because they don't have jobs. And the reason they don't have jobs is the government shut down their businesses. And the reason the government shut down their businesses is that the government failed over and over again to do what was necessary to make social distancing and physical distancing and other health policy guidelines in place early enough so there wouldn't be such a vast shutdown. So the issue of the cancellation of rents is really an American issue, not that it's not an issue elsewhere, but here the United States, which always calls itself the richest country in the world, has 40 million people, really 50 million out of work. They don't have to be out of work, as Congresswoman Jayapal said, mass unemployment is a policy choice. And she's right about that. It's a policy choice and an indicator of the priorities of the capitalist government. The fact that Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party leadership, as of yet, are not supporting it shows how in bed they are with Wall Street and, of course, the military-industrial complex.